I'll raise it up a little bit. Don't mind me. Hello friends, and welcome to our first spooky slash haunted house slash true crime video. In order to get to the haunted house part, we have to talk about why it became a haunted house. Like what events happened here to make it such. And let me tell you, some crazy things went down in this house. As a fair warning, this video does include violence, blood, death or dying, and murder. Before we get into the story, I just have to say, it is so hot in LA. So if you see me sweating, let's look. I don't even know if you can focus on that, but it is 95 degrees outside right now. And I'm trying to dress like fall because it's September, but you have to forgive me if I look a little damp. I'm gonna try my best to not let that happen, but don't judge me. So today's story, you may have heard of this house. I know I have, but I didn't know the full story. Today we are talking about the Lizzie Borden House, which was recently named #2 on a list of most haunted houses slash hotels in America. Like, the Lizzie Borden House earned a 9.73 out of 10 on a spooky scale, which was almost enough to take the top spot worldwide. The Lizzie Borden House is notorious for being the home of Lizzie Borden and her family, and is the location of the 1892 unsolved double murder of Lizzie's father and stepmother. It is located on 232nd Street in the city of Fall River, Massachusetts. What's so interesting about this murder is that 1, it's still unsolved. 2, it happened in broad daylight at one of the busiest times of the day with many horses, buggies, and people all around. And 3, people still believe that Lizzie got away with it. Look, I know it was 1892 and solving crimes was not at its best, but the evidence, it's interesting. Okay, let's talk about our girl Lizzie. Lizzie Andrew Borden was born on July 19th, 1860 in Fall River, Massachusetts, to Sarah Anthony Borden and her father, Andrew Jackson Borden. Her father grew up in very modest surroundings and struggled financially as a young man, despite being the descendant of a very wealthy and influential family. Andrew eventually prospered in the manufacture and sale of furniture and caskets, then became a very successful property developer. He was also the director of several textile mills and owned considerable commercial property. At his death, his estate was valued at $300,000, which in today's market is over $9 million. Like, oh my gosh, Papa had money. Papa had lots of money. Despite his considerable wealth, Andrew was known for being cheap. For instance, the Borden home lacked indoor plumbing, which was a very popular accommodation for the wealthy of this time. Their house was in a nice area, but the most wealthiest of residents in Fall River, including his cousins, lived in the more fashionable neighborhood known as The Hill. Lizzie and her older sister, Emma Lenora Borden, had a relative religious upbringing and attended Central Congregational Church. As a young woman, Lizzie was very involved with church activities, including teaching Sunday school to recent immigrants who moved to the United States. 3 years after the death of Lizzie's mother, Sarah, Andrew married Abby Durfee Gray. Also, if I say names wrong, don't come for me. I am not perfect. Lizzie stated that she called her stepmother Mrs. Borden, and she wondered if her father and her stepmother had a cordial relationship, meaning she thinks that Abby married Andrew for his money, which, I mean, it's a strong theory, I have to give her that. Bridget Sullivan, who they called Maggie, was their 25-year-old live-in maid, and she stated during the trial that Abby and Emma rarely ate dinner with their parents. In May of 1892, Andrew killed multiple pigeons in the barn with a hatchet, believing they were attracting local children to hunt them. Lizzie had recently built a roost for the pigeons, and it has been recounted many times that Lizzie was quite upset over her father doing this. A family argument in July of 1892 prompted both sisters to take extended vacations to New Bedford. After returning to Fall River a week before the murders, Lizzie chose to stay in a local rooming house for 4 days before returning to the family residence. So here we are. Tensions, they've been a-brewing. Some things have been happening, especially over Andrew's gift of real estate to his wife's family. So Andrew basically gave Abby's sister a house, and Emma and Lizzie were like, "Dad, we want a house too, because we're your daughters," which I get it. I mean, like, I don't know. They were upset and they wanted a house. So their dad gave them a rental property, which was once the house that they lived in before their mother died. They, for whatever reason, purchased this from their father. They literally gave him $1 to do this. I'm not I feel like it was probably something for the books, like they had to check it out and be like, well, I didn't give it to them, they bought it, you know, but they paid $1, whatever. A few weeks before the murders, the daughters sold the property back to their father for $5,000, which in today's money is about $150,000, which like that's no small fee, especially for how much they paid for it, which again was $1. Crazy, just blows my mind. The night before the murders, John Vinicum Morse, the brother of Lizzie and Emma's deceased mother, came to stay with the family to discuss business matters with Andrew. Some writers have speculated that their conversations, probably about property transfer or something legal, had agitated an already tense situation. Also, like a side note, it's just something to like keep in mind, it's very interesting. For several days before the murders, the entire family became ill. Like they were sick, just down and bad. A family friend later speculated that mutton, which is like sheep flesh, sheep meat, I don't know, I don't eat it, was the cause of the family being sick, because apparently they had left it out on the stove, and I feel like if they would have refrigerated it, I don't know when refrigerators are invented, but I feel like if they have indoor plumbing, they now have a way to store meat. If they probably would have kept it not on the stove, like leaving meat out, they probably would have gotten sick. But Abby, Andrew's wife, feared poison because Andrew was apparently not a popular man. My guess is that he was really cheap and people were struggling and they're like, can you just give us some money? And he was like, no. I don't know this man, but I feel like if you have a lot of money and you aren't doing anything with it, people might not like you. Anyways, we are now at the day the double murders went down, August 4th, 1892. John, Lizzie and Emma's uncle, arrived in the evening of August 3rd and slept in the guest room that night. The guest room was upstairs. Keep that in mind. After breakfast the next morning, August 4th, day of the murders, Andrew, Abby, Lizzie, John, and Maggie, the maid, were all present. Emma was like away, just staying somewhere else, minding her business. After breakfast, Andrew and John went into the sitting room where they chatted for nearly an hour. John left the house at about 8:48 a.m. to go buy a pair of oxen, interesting, and to visit his niece, Emma. Because she was in Fall River, she just wasn't at the house. And he planned on coming back home at lunchtime to eat with the family. Andrew, Lizzie's father, left for his morning walk at about 9 a.m. So 12 minutes after John left to go see his niece and buy some oxen. It's not funny, it's just I don't know, I'm not on my daily going to buy oxen. Although cleaning the guest room was one of Lizzie and Emma's chores, Abby, Lizzie's stepmother, went upstairs between 9 and 10:30 a.m. to make the bed. So here comes the crazy. According to forensic investigation, Abby was facing her killer at the time of the attack. She was first struck on the side of the head with the hatchet just above the ear, causing her to turn and fall on the floor, creating contusions on her nose and forehead. Her killer then struck her several more times, delivering 17 more hits to the back of the head, ultimately killing her. When Andrew, Lizzie's father, returned home after his walk at 10:30, he noticed that his key wasn't working, like it was like stuck and the door was jammed. So he knocked, and the maid Maggie went to open the door, but she also could not get it open. Maggie would later testify that she heard Lizzie laughing, but she didn't see Lizzie, but stated that the laughter was coming from the top of the stairs, which is where the guest bedroom is, which is where Abby was. This is considered pretty significant because Abby at this point was already dead, and her body would have been visible to anyone on the home's second floor, so Lizzie later denied being upstairs and testified that her father asked where Abby was, to which she later replied that a messenger had sent a note basically saying that one of Abby's friends was sick and to come see her. Lizzie stated that she had removed her father's boots and helped him into his slippers before he lay on the sofa to take a nap. But here's like big evidence that that was not true. A detail was noticed from the crime photos that Andrew actually died in his boots, so why would Miss Lizzie lie about this? After Lizzie helped her father into his slippers, as she stated, she then said that she told Maggie, hey, I heard of this sale at this department store. You should go. Treat yourself. You're the best. So I believe Maggie was like, okay, sure, I'll go. So she goes upstairs and she's, I guess, changing out of whatever. It also states that she was upstairs resting from where she had been cleaning in the morning, when just before 11:10 a.m. she heard Lizzie call from downstairs, Maggie, come quick, father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him. Andrew was slumped on the couch in the downstairs sitting room. He was struck 10 or 11 times with a hatchet-like weapon. One of Andrew's eyes had been split clearly in two, so it is assumed that he was asleep when his attacker first struck. When Maggie got down, he was still bleeding, so this suggests that the incident happened very, very recently. Dr. Bowen, the family physician, arrived from his home across the street and pronounced both victims dead. Detectives estimate that Andrew's death happened at approximately 11 a.m. Heavy stuff, man. Lizzie appeared at the inquest hearing on August 8th. She had been prescribed regular doses of morphine to help her nerves, and it's very possible that her testimony was affected by this. Her behavior was erratic, and she often denied answering questions, even those questions that would be beneficial for her to answer to help prove her innocence. She often contradicted herself, and her story would change a little. Like, she said, "I was in the kitchen reading a magazine when father got home." Then she said she was in the kitchen doing some ironing, and then saying she was coming down the stairs as her father got home. As I stated earlier, she said that she also helped her father take off his boots and help him into his slippers, which, as we know from the photos, that didn't happen. Or either the killer put his boots back on, but I don't think that happened. On August 11th, Lizzie was issued a warrant for arrest and jailed. Many newspaper articles noted that Lizzie had a stolid demeanor, bit her lips, flushed, and bent toward Attorney Adams, which I don't know if that was like a I don't know, was it like a thank you? She bent towards him. It was also reported that her testimony had caused a change of opinion among her friends who have heretofore strongly maintained her innocence. Heretofore, you can definitely tell we're at the end of the 1800s with this language. The inquest received significant nationwide attention, and Lizzie was indicted on December 2nd. Now, the actual trial took place a whole year later on June 5th, 1893. 5 days before the trial commenced, on June 1st, another axe murder occurred in Fall River. Talk about impeccable timing. This time the victim was Bertha Manchester, lovely name, who was found hacked to death in her kitchen. The similarities between the two murders was noticed by the juror, but Jose Correa de Melo, a Portuguese immigrant, was later charged with the murder of Miss Manchester. And it was determined that the two murders were not connected, that Jose was nowhere near Fall River a year ago when the Borden double murder took place. A big talking point of the trial was that a hatchet head was found in the basement of the home, but there was no handle. The handle was gone. Prosecutors argued that the killer may have taken the handle and disposed of it because it was covered in blood. Though no bloody clothing was found, a witness did testify saying that they saw Lizzie burning a dress on the kitchen stove, and Lizzie basically said, "I got paint on my dress. I got paint on my dress, so I gotta burn it because I can't wear it anymore." But I would suggest that if you get paint on clothing, you could just throw it away. Why take the effort to burn it? Like, that's a lot of work unless you're trying to hide something. Also, Lizzie's presence at the home was a huge talking point during the trial. Lizzie had told several people, though, that she was in the barn, not the house, for 20 minutes or possibly half an hour. A witness was able to back this, said that he saw Lizzie leaving the barn at 11:03 a.m. and another friend of his or person that was with him at the time also confirmed that that happened. At 11:10 a.m., Lizzie called Maggie downstairs saying, "Father's been murdered, come," and ordered Maggie not to enter the room, but to go get a doctor. It was like, no, don't trust me, go get a doctor. Which, like, maybe, like, if he's bleeding, she maybe thought that they could save him, or if she killed him, then maybe she was like, don't look, I have blood on my dress. What's pretty gnarly is both victims' skulls were removed during the autopsy, and they were actually brought into the trial and used as evidence, which is just beyond, oh my God. And of course, when Lizzie saw this, she fainted. I mean, seeing anyone's skull severed would probably make me freak as well, especially my father and my stepmother's. Like, yeah, that's I think that makes sense. Some more evidence that was brought up during the trial is that the day before the murders, Lizzie bought prussic acid, which, for those of you who don't know, it is a fast-acting poison in the body. Can be used for other things, but it also can kill you very quickly. Lizzie argued that she bought it to clean a sealskin coat, and the judge later was like, you know what, we'll give you that one. You didn't use that to kill them. That's not spooky. On June 20th, 1893, after about an hour of deliberation, the jury acquitted Lizzie of the murders, which acquitted basically means was found not guilty. Upon exiting the courthouse, Lizzie told reporters that she was the happiest woman in the world. The trial has later been compared to other trials such as O.J. Simpson, Bruno Hauptmann, and Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. After the trial, Lizzie and her sister Emma moved into a house in the Hill, which, as we remember, was like the bougie and money a neighborhood that you wanted to live in. At this new house, they had staff that included live-in maids, a housekeeper, and a coachman. Because Abby was ruled to have died before Andrew, his estate first went to Andrew and then his daughters. It's pretty wicked. Let's say Lizzie did kill her stepmother and father. I mean, sis was smart to kill the stepmother first, because that way they got the money and not Abby's family. I'm not being like killing, smart, whatever, but that move was strategic if it was done on purpose. Yes, Lizzie and Emma got most of the money, but a big settlement was given to Abby's family. Despite Lizzie being acquitted, her reputation was pretty much soiled, and she was pretty much ostracized from the Fall River Society. Her name was brought into the public eye in 1897 when she was accused of shoplifting, which seems kind of silly because she got all her dad's money, which is, again, a considerable amount, so why would you be shoplifting? Maybe she liked attention, I don't know. In 1905, shortly after an argument over a party that Lizzie had thrown for actress Nance O'Neill, Emma moved out of the house and never spoke to her sister again. It makes me wonder if Lizzie maybe gave some new information to her sister, confessed. I wonder what was said. I wonder what could be so crazy to never speak to your sister again. I have a sister and I couldn't imagine ever talking to her again. I don't know, but she never spoke to her sister again. Lizzie was very ill in her last year of life after a gallbladder removal. She ended up dying of pneumonia on June 1st, 1927. And just a few days later, her sister Emma died of chronic nephritis at the age of 76 in a nursing home in Newmarket, New Hampshire. The sisters, both of whom were never married, were buried side by side in the family plot of Oak Grove Cemetery. At her death, Lizzie was worth over $250,000, which in today is estimated to be over $5 million. She left $30,000, equivalent to $600,000, to an animal shelter, and $500, equivalent to about $10,000, in a trust for continuous care of her father's grave. And that, my friends, is a story of Lizzie Borden and the Lizzie Borden House. Now, those are all the events that happened to kind of get us where we are today with the haunting. According to some, Lizzie still laughs at the top of the stairs for getting away with the murders, near the spot where she gave her stepmother 40 whacks. Now, we know she didn't give her 40 whacks, but listen to this rhyme, this nursery rhyme that people say. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Psycho. It's definitely one of those things where people heard a story and then they put a twist on it, like a big twist, and made it 40 and 41 whacks, which did not happen. If you were also interested in Lizzie and would like to see if she is actually laughing at the top of those stairs, mama, you can go and stay at the house. Remember how I said at the beginning of this video that it was like #2 for houses/hotels? Yeah, it's a fully functioning bed and breakfast. You can even stay in the Lizzie suite and sleep in the bed she slept in. I would say it's probably not the same mattress, but probably the same bed frame, which is like spooky. There are reports of seeing cats, apparitions, self-rocking rocking chairs, and of course that Lizzie still haunts the home herself and apparently chokes guests that lay on her bed. That is crazy. The dining room table where guests enjoy their meals is the same table where Andrew and Abby were autopsied. Guests who stay in the Lizzie Borden home have captured pictures of strange floating anomalies, noises coming from inside wardrobes, footsteps, laughter, and some have even reported being touched by an unseen hand while they slept. I think that's one of my biggest fears, is like when I'm sleeping and I put my foot off the bed and like something grabs it, or my hand. It's so scary. If you're dying, get it? If you're dying to see the Lizzie Borden house, you should aim to go in August when they do reenactments of the murder. I'm only laughing because it's a lot. It's interesting that you can go and experience all of this and that some of the spooky things go down there. So that is the story of the Lizzie Borden house. If you go, let me know because I'm interested. I don't know if I would go in August to watch the reenactment. I feel like that's a little bit much, but I would love to go and eat dinner there. I don't know if I could stay in the house. I feel like I gotta draw a line somewhere. If there is a story that you would like me to do, please comment it down below and I will do my best to get to it. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next week with some more spooky content. Bye guys. I'm sweating.